Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here, and it is time for the latest Blizzard scandal about how their internal processes and policies are just getting worse. This one became public through World of Warcraft, but the policy does apply to Hearthstone as well, so let's take a look. Brian Birmingham writes, I wasn't intending to make this public, but apparently it's in the news already. Yes, that was published in Bloomberg and also on Wowhead and many places, so I'd like to at least set the record straight. I'm no longer an employee of Blizzard Entertainment, though I would return if allowed to, so that I could fight the stack ranking policy from inside. I'm told the full stack ranking policy is a directive that came from the ABK level, Activision Blizzard King, so Bobby and Bobby's yacht, above Micah Barra. I don't know for sure, but I suspect it's true. Everybody at Blizzard I've spoken to about this, including my direct supervisors, expressed disappointment about this policy. If I recall correctly, the first year we were asked to meet a specific quota of developing ratings was in the 2020 evaluations across the winter of 2020-2021. If I remember correctly, this was also the first year they tried to unify the review appraisal systems across all three child business units, that mean Activision, Blizzard and King. Activision, Blizzard and King all had similar appraisal processes by this point, and ABK wanted to unify them into one. Presumably this was the motivation for enforcing a 5% developing rating to make it match in all three studios. I'm not defending this, only explaining. We at Blizzard pushed back pretty hard in 2021, and I truly believed we had reversed the developing quota policy. When the sexual harassment lawsuit was revealed later that year, we saw some change following that as well, and it felt like we could make an impact on ABK policies. The realization that there's still a minimum quota for developing, despite our objections and sternly worded letters, leads me to believe that I was operating under an illusion. I hope Blizzard's positive culture can overcome ABK's poison, but it isn't succeeding in doing that yet. So having explained all that, I bear no ill will towards my former colleagues at Blizzard Entertainment. The Blizzard I knew and always wanted to work for is being torn apart by the executives at ABK, and it makes me sad. I truly respect the developers I work with at Blizzard. So that was a rather lengthy tweet chain, but I thought it was important to let Brian's own words come true. You can also read about this in news on various websites. So Brian was let go because he refused to give his team members poor performance ratings, because the policy at Activision Blizzard King, it's a forced stack ranking policy, so it demands that a certain number of people in every single team have to be categorized as bad workers, basically. And yeah, so where did all this come from, and like what? This forced stack ranking performance evaluation, it's an idea that was developed in 1980s at GE. Many management mistakes were invented in 1980s, and this was one of the more disastrous ones. It's based on it's sort of tries to be based on science. It's based on the idea of normal distribution, because normal distribution is something that we encounter time and time again. If I were to randomly pick up people from the street and have them do a math test, for example, then their results would probably go into a normal distribution, especially if the sample size was large enough. So some people would be poor, some people would be mediocre, most people would be mediocre, and some people would be really good. But the forced stack ranking gets this whole idea upside down, because now the causal relationship is inverted. You just make up a normal distribution, even if you don't know if there is one or not. You just say that, hey, there has got to be one. This is actually used in some of testing, for example, at schools. In Finland, for example, some national tests where every single student in the whole country, tens of thousands of people, have to take the same test, and they just grade them by normal distribution because it is going to follow normal distribution, and this kind of enforces that idea. Although there have been some issues with that. I might talk about that a little bit later. Anyway, this forced stack ranking, it's effective if you want employees to compete on each other and fight against each other. Like, if you want people to, you treat people like very simple automatons, and they have to put together some part, and then whoever puts together most parts wins, and the others lose. So yeah, you could kind of subscribe to this sort of worldview, and that's kind of what the 80s was about, treating people as automatons instead of people, and trying to simplify tasks and make it so that, hey, you're just a cog in this wheel, and whichever cogs are the best are the best. But it doesn't work with like innovation. It doesn't work with teamwork at all. Especially innovation is a huge problem in every company that tries to enforce the stack ranking, because it really stirs innovation. Innovation just doesn't work that way. You can't innovate the same way like if you're at a factory and you're putting together some pieces at a forced pace. And innovation doesn't work like that. Innovation comes and ebbs and flows, and you need breaks, and sometimes it's a little bit slow, and you process it, and then you get a big breakthrough, and suddenly you have results, and that's just the nature of innovation. And yeah, so this forced stack ranking, this is a terrible idea. It was embraced by a number of companies, including, for example, Microsoft at one point. And later on, Microsoft blames forced stack ranking for costing them a decade of progress. Microsoft gave up on this in 2013, so Microsoft no longer does it, and they say that that was one of the worst management moves that they ever made. Just not suitable for their environment at all. And the whole concept that Blizzard was forced to start using this in 2021, almost a decade after pretty much everyone else gave up on it. Everyone with a brain gave up on it, because it's a terrible idea. Then, oh boy. Just the whole concept. Okay, there's some idea there that it's going to prevent managerial bias also from like evaluating your employees too high. Because you assume that, okay, they will follow the normal distribution. And now that we force them to be graded according to normal distribution, then we will get the real grades instead of inflated grades. But that only works like in specific types of populations. I have a fun example of this actually. In the Finnish high school national examinations, they grade the papers according to normal distribution. So 5% will fail, 5% will get the best grade. That's the idea there. But what they have noticed is that when there are subject matters that not everyone is forced to take, like let's say some foreign languages, for example, then actually they have produced terrible results, because those people who are really studying some foreign language, they tend to be better than average. So their skill levels actually do not follow normal distribution. That's what they have found when they have objectively tested their skill levels. And then forcing them to go into a normal distribution curve just gives incorrect grades to a bunch of people. And that's the same that is going to happen in every company that is going to force stack ranking performance evaluations. And funnily enough, in this information about what happened with Blizzard with this, was that, okay, they didn't even realize that it was forced on some years. And that also kind of makes sense, because over a large group of people, you would expect that you would get closer and closer to normal distribution. So if they evaluate a large unit, then some teams might have more developing people, other teams might have like a lot of superstars. But then when you break it down into team level and you go to smaller and smaller groups and force the evaluation, then it just all breaks down. And yeah, that was just a piece of news. Small glimmer of hope. I really, really, really hope that Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard goes through, because Microsoft realized in 2013 that this idea that they also had embraced was one of the worst management mistakes they have ever made. And if they acquire Activision Blizzard, I assume that they're going to get rid of this immediately, because they know how disastrously bad it is, and maybe we can fix some things. But Blizzard actually implementing very old and proven non-functional management methods in 2021. Phew. Yeah. Just some more Blizzard for you. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.